Before we start, please subscribe and like the channel. At that time, the Khazars became stronger, started a war with the tribes of Lek and Kafkas. At that time Targamosids were lived in peace and mutual love. Over the sons of Caucasus the lord was Derdzuk, son of Tyrit. They entered into negotiations with all 6 descendants of the Targamosids, asking for assistance in the fight against the Khazars. Then all the Targamosid tribes gathered and, having crossed the Caucasus mountain, struck Khazaria, destroying the cities and making them prisoners. The Khazars elected their king and opposed the Targamosids. There were countless Khazars, and after many Targamosid warriors were unable to resist them. Some cities and fortresses remained untouched. Tukarisi, Samshvild and Turist Psyche, Shida Kartli and Egrisi also survived. Son of the Khazar king, Ubos, who was given the inheritance of Caucasus west of the Lomiki River, where he founded Ossetia. Derdzuk, the most noble of the sons of the Caucasus, went and founded his land, Derdzukidi, in the mountains, paying tribute to the Khazar king. At the same time, the Khazar king gave the son of his father's brother the inheritance of Lek from the Derbent Sea in the east and settled there, on the land of Lek. Kozanik, being more noble than the rest of the descendants of Lek, went and sat in a cleft of the mountain, built a city there and called it by his own name, Kozanikidi. Much time has passed since then, all these tribes remain tributaries of the Khazars. At this time, the Persians, descendants of Nebrot, under the leadership of a hero named Apradon, strengthened their power. Apradon becomes the ruler of Persia and sends his subordinate, Ardam, with a great army to Kartli. Ardam destroys the cities and fortresses of Kartli, defeating and exterminating the Khazars, and builds a city called Derbent, Sidi Gate. He also surrounds the city of Mskita with a stone fence, introducing new construction technologies to Kartli. After Ardam, power is transferred to Apradon's son, Yared, but subsequent Persian rulers face civil strife and murder. The Kartlosids, turning to the Oghuz, come out from behind the mountains and arrange negotiations. They also eliminate the Persian ruler who was harming them and confront the Persians, achieving their independence. Only Ran and Hereti remained with the Persians. Many years later, the Persians are strengthening again under the rule of King Kekapos. The king and his army make the Georgians their tributaries and leave for Persia. Later, news arrives of Moses crossing the Sea of Israel and his people eating manna in the desert. Everyone was amazed, and all the pagans praised the God of the Israelites. After some time, the king of Persia enters into war with the Turks. Armenians and Georgians find an opportune moment to separate from the Persians, strengthening their fortresses and cities. The Targamosid clan unites again. A few years later, Kekapos, the king of Persia, sent his son Parbarot with a great army against the Armenians, Georgians and Targamosids. In response, all the Targamosids joined forces and fought the Persians at Adarbatagan, defeating Parbaroth and destroying his army. After some time, Kekapos sent his grandson, named Kekosro, to Kartli. He passed through Armenia and Kartli, destroying cities and fortresses, including Adarbatagan. He then built a prayer house in Adarbatagan and left. Later, King Kekosro started a war again, this time with the Turks. The Armenians and Georgians, finding an opportune moment, separated from the Persians and defeated the Persian rulers, freeing themselves from their power. At this time, the Turks, fleeing from Kekosro, crossed the Gurgan Sea and moved along the Kara River to Mskita. They entered into negotiations with the local head of the city, Mamasakles, offering military assistance in exchange for an alliance in the fight against the Persians. The Georgians accepted the Turks' offer, concluding friendship and placing them in the city of Sarkine. Thus, the Turks and Georgians lived in peace, preparing for a possible Persian invasion. At this time, refugees from different countries also came and entered into an alliance with the Georgians for protection from the Persians. These refugees included Jews who fled Jerusalem after the invasion of King Nebuchadnezzar. Many tribes gathered in Kartli. A few years after this, a great event arose. The son of the Persian king Vashtosheba, called Leontiy Mroveli, rose up. This giant and famous warrior undertook a campaign in the lands of Armenians and Georgians. Who could not resist him, but they strengthened the fortresses, fortified the cities, preparing for a possible attack. However, upon Spandiat's arrival in Adarbatagan, he received news from the Persians that the Turks had killed his grandfather and penetrated into Persia. In response to this, Spandiat refused to continue the war with the Armenians and Georgians. He directed his efforts against the Turks in search of revenge for his grandfather. Thus, the Armenians and Georgians got rid of him. A few years later, the son of Spandiatus, known as Bahram or Ardashir, came to the throne in Persia. He surpassed his predecessors by conquering Babylon and Assyria, making the Greeks and Romans his tributaries. At this time, Georgians also found themselves among his tributaries. Thus, various tribes merged in Kartli, and there were 6 spoken languages in this region: Georgian, Armenian, Khazar, Syriac, Hebrew and Greek. All the kings of Kartli and the population, including both men and women, spoke these languages. If you liked the video, please support the channel with likes and subscriptions.